Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. We are continuing along with The Shape of Summer. Today we're going to be doing chapters 4 and 5. Chapter 4, A Round of Something Stronger. Kaminari slung an arm over the back of Kirishima's chair, grinning wide. "Come out with us tonight," he said, nudging his shoulder. "You've been way too seriously lately. I'm starting to think someone swapped you with a moody clone." Kirishima gave a crooked smile. "Didn't know you were an expert on moods." "Please," Kaminari said, pressing a hand to his chest. "I'm a connoisseur of bad vibes. And yours? Top shelf, bro." Kirishima rolled his eyes, but didn't argue. The truth was, he had been quieter lately, restless and distracted. Even his early morning bursts of energy felt dull at the edges. And no matter how much he tried to bury it, the tension had a name. One currently working in his kitchen, like he hadn't once held Kirishima like he was something worth missing. "Come on," Kaminari said. "Just one night. Drinks and burgers. Shinso's paying for the first round. You in? You need to. See something that isn't espresso beans or Bakugo's angry eyebrows." That got a laugh out of him. Small, but real. Kirishima thought about it, about how loud his apartment felt lately, and how he kept replaying the same 3 days in his head, looking for clues he knew weren't there. Maybe being out would help. "Fine," Kirishima said. "I'm in." Elsewhere, Shinso leaned against the break room counter, sipping his coffee, while Bakugo stacked clean prep containers with a little too much force. "You ever go out, or is slamming Tupperware your idea of fun?" Shinso asked dryly. Bakugo shot him a glare. "I go out." "Sure. When? Because I've worked with you for 2 weeks, and the only time you've looked remotely relaxed was when you burnt that one guy's focaccia for asking too many questions." "That guy deserved it," Bakugo muttered. Shinso was leaning against the wall near the lockers, arms folded, watching Bakugo lace up his boots with precise aggression. "You working through something, or just trying to kill your shoelaces?" Shinso asked dryly. Bakugo didn't look up. "What do you want?" Shinso hummed, unbothered. "Kaminari and I are hitting a bar tonight. You should come." Bakugo's hands froze mid-knot. Bakugo paused, narrowing his eyes. "Why?" Shinso shrugged. "Team bonding, alcohol, not watching you brood in the corner while you murder dough with your bare hands." Bakugo looked like he might say no, like he wanted to say no, but something in his jaw twitched. A pause. "What bar?" "Someplace chill," Shinso said, watching him closely. "You'll survive." Shinso raised a brow, but didn't push. "You don't have to come. Just figured it might be good to remind yourself that you're allowed to be a person outside the kitchen." Bakugo snorted, standing. "That's a lot coming from you." "And yet," Shinso said, "here I am, extending the olive branch." Bakugo grabbed his jacket. He wasn't sure why. Maybe out of spite, or maybe curiosity. Maybe just to prove that he could show up and not let his chest crack open in front of everyone. "Fine," he muttered, "but I'm not staying long." Shinso smirked. "Didn't ask you to." The bar wasn't anything special. Dim lights, scratched up booths, cheap drinks, and a jukebox that hadn't worked right since the last storm. But it was familiar, neutral ground in a town that sometimes felt too small for old feelings. Kirishima slid into a booth near the back, Kaminari already halfway through a basket of fries, and gesturing animatedly at a tiny TV over the bar. "I'm just saying," Kaminari insisted, "if you got hit by lightning and lived, that should legally count as a superpower." Kirishima chuckled, grateful for the distraction. Then the door opened. He didn't look right away, not until he felt the shift in the air, like gravity had just tilted sideways, slightly. Bakugo. And right behind him, Shinso, scanning the bar like he was 2 steps ahead of a mystery only he cared about. Kirishima blinked. You've got to be kidding. Kaminari looked up. Oh, hey, what are the odds? Bakugo froze for half a second when he saw them, just enough for Shinso to notice. Then he exhaled through his nose and made his way to the booth like nothing was weird at all. Kirishima's heart did that annoying flutter thing it hadn't learned how to stop doing yet. Guess we're all here, Shinso said, sliding in across from Kaminari. Bakugo didn't sit. He just hovered for a beat too long, looking at Kirishima, like he wanted to be somewhere else, anywhere else, but couldn't bring himself to leave. Finally, he dropped into the seat beside Shinso and muttered, "Fucking great." Kirishima offered a casual smile, even though his heart was busy hammering against his ribs. Didn't realize this was turning into a staff hangout. Shinso leaned back in the booth, arms crossed. Small town with few bars. Shocking, really. Bakugo's eyes stayed locked on his drink. Yeah, real fucking coincidence. Fate, Kaminari said, bouncing to his feet. I'm taking it as a sign. Also, I think the bartender's into me, so I'm gonna test my luck. He turned to Shinso with a grin. Wanna come help carry drinks while I secure some free rounds with my dazzling charm? Shinso stared at him, deadpan. So, you're asking me to supervise? Exactly, Kaminari beamed. Supportive boyfriend duties. Shinso sighed, sliding towards the edge of the booth. You owe me fries. Kirishima and Bakugo shifted out to let them pass. Once they were gone, the booth suddenly felt quieter and smaller somehow. Kirishima glanced at Bakugo. Guess it's just us. Bakugo grunted. Kirishima gave a short laugh, looking down at his hands. Just like old times, huh? Sort of. Bakugo didn't answer, just reached for the drink menu, pretending to read it like it might save him. Well, maybe we really need to stop meeting like this. It's starting to feel a bit like a habit, Kirishima said lightly, trying not to sound too hopeful. It's not like I wanted to run into you, Bakugo muttered, not looking up. Yeah, well, maybe I wanted to run into you, Kirishima smiled shyly, even if it's awkward as hell. Bakugo didn't look up, but the tension eased. Kirishima leaned back, a soft clink of ice shifting in his glass. So, he said with a grin, does that mean you're stuck with me for the night? Bakugo opened his mouth, maybe to argue, but it was cut off by the arrival of two more voices. Bakugo stood abruptly, eyes sharp, but his voice low. I'm stepping outside for a bit. Need some air. Without waiting for a response, he slipped past the booth and out the door. Kaminari bounced back into the booth, grinning like he had just won the lottery, balancing a tray of colorful drinks carefully. Told you my charm works. Free drinks, courtesy of yours truly. Shinso trailed behind, holding a basket of fries, his voice dry but amused. Free fries, his way of apologizing for dragging me into this again. Kaminari gave Shinso a quick wink. I flirt and free drinks are nice, but you're still the one I want to come home to. I'd totally be throwing finger guns your way if my hands weren't full. Shinso gave a slow, deliberate eye roll. Save the finger guns for later, Casanova. Kaminari slipped in beside Shinso, shoulders pressed together without a second thought. The way they moved, comfortable and easy, it made something tighten in Kirishima's chest. Shinso took a slow sip of whatever electric green thing Kaminari had handed him and leaned in to say something only Kaminari could hear. The spark of a smile crossed Kaminari's face. Kirishima watched them for a second too long. Then he cleared his throat and stood up, plastering on a grin. Hey, I'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your night. I've got an early morning. Kaminari looked up, a little surprised. You sure? We were just getting started. Yeah, Kirishima said, already stepping back. This was really good, though. Really. Outside, the night had cooled a little. The streets were mostly quiet, just a low murmur of people 2 blocks over, music echoing faintly from the bar's open door. Kirishima spotted him near the edge of the sidewalk, half hidden under the weak glow of a street lamp. Bakugo stood still, hands shoved deep in his pockets. staring out over the rooftops and streetlights like they'd wronged him personally. Kirishima approached slowly. Didn't take you for the dramatic exit type. Bakugo didn't turn around. Didn't take you for the type who follows. Kirishima laughed softly, then fell quiet. The hum of the night wrapped around them like a blanket. Being here with you again, it kinda messes with my head, Kirishima admitted, voice low, almost shy. Bakugo's eyes flicked to him briefly, tense. You're my boss. Kirishima met his gaze, voice dropping, just a little more serious. Is that the only reason you're keeping your distance? Bakugo looked away, jaw tightening. Kirishima stepped closer, careful not to crowd him. I'm not asking for anything complicated. I just missed you. And I don't think I was the only one. A long silence stretched between them. The space shrank, and Kirishima didn't move any further. He was waiting, hoping. Bakugo's hand came up slowly, resting gently on Kirishima's chest. It wasn't forceful, just enough to stop him. Don't, he said quietly. Kirishima froze, a flash of hurt crossing his face. We agreed. Bakugo continued, voice low and steady. It was supposed to stay simple. You said so. Kirishima swallowed and whispered, Yeah, but that was when I thought I'd never see you again. They stood like that, the tension humming between them like electricity. Neither of them moved, neither spoke. The night seemed to hold its breath. Chapter 5. The Crack in the Armor. Kaminari shuffled in, yawning so hard his jaw cracked, and groaned as he leaned on the counter. Why does opening always feel like a punishment? He muttered. It is a punishment, Shinso replied, voice flat, as he fiddled with the espresso grinder. Bakugo was already there, sleeves pushed up, shoulders tight. He didn't look at anyone, just grunted something under his breath and went back to counting stock. Kirishima walked in a few minutes later, chipper enough to say good morning, but not enough to really mean it. His usual easy smile was missing. He headed straight towards the back room without a second glance at Bakugo. Kaminari picked up on it first. Did I miss something? Why does it feel like I walked into a cold front? He said, half joking, half nervous, as he set up the register. Shinso didn't even glance up from the espresso machine. That's just Bakugo's energy. Bakugo shot him a glare over his shoulder. Shove it! But Kirishima didn't take the bait. He just kept moving, focused, overly polite, like he was trying to keep the line between personal and professional as sharp as a knife. The next couple days weren't any better. They passed each other like strangers, tight-lipped, formal, and surrounded by co-workers who clearly noticed the static in the air, but were smart enough not to poke at it. It wasn't tension that exploded. It was the kind that crept into your lungs, made it hard to breathe, made everything feel heavier than it was. Then came the afternoon that cracked it wide open. They were restocking in the back, alone for once. Kirishima reached for a box on an upper shelf just as Bakugo did. Their fingers brushed, brief and accidental, and Bakugo flinched. Don't flinch, Kirishima said, sharp but quiet. I'm not going to bite you. I didn't flinch, Bakugo muttered, already turning away. Kirishima dropped the box harder than he needed to. Right, you just can't look me in the eye anymore. Bakugo's jaw clenched, but he said nothing. I gave you space, Kirishima said, stepping back, voice rising. I waited. I even kept it professional. For you. But you walk around like I don't exist, and I'm supposed to just, what, pretend nothing happened? He stared at Bakugo, who still didn't respond. His silence was everything. Kirishima let out a bitter laugh, sharp and low. I liked you. I still do. But I'm not going to keep pretending those few days meant nothing because you're scared to feel something. And then he left, walking out before Bakugo could think of anything to say, if he had anything to say at all. The silence that followed felt louder than any of the shouting would have. That night, closing was quiet, just Bakugo and Shinso, wiping down counters and locking up in the silence that was both heavy and familiar. Bakugo busied himself with cleaning the same countertop twice, jaw tight, eyes distant. Shinso finally spoke up without looking at him. All right, I'm saying something. You've been weird all week, and now Kirishima's pissed. What the hell's going on? Nothing, Bakugo muttered, scrubbing a spot that didn't exist. That's not even a good lie, Shinso said, turning to face him. Bakugo's grip on the rag tightened. He didn't look up. It's him. His voice low and raw. Of fucking course. The universe is a cosmic joke, he said, shaking his head. This is why I don't do feelings. You let yourself have one good thing and know it's your damn boss. Shinso eyed him for a long moment. What are you even talking about? Bakugo didn't answer right away. He kept wiping the same spot on the counter, jaw tight. Finally, he muttered, There was a thing over the summer. Bakugo raised his eyebrow. A thing? Bakugo's grip on the rag tightened. He didn't look up. Shinso didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. Just dried a glass and nodded once, like it all made sense. Then stop running, he said. Bakugo scoffed. You don't get it. I do, Shinso said. You're not the only person in the world scared of getting wrecked by someone who matters. That landed harder than Bakugo wanted to admit. He stood there, fists clenched, chest tight, eyes locked somewhere on the floor. Shinso didn't move, didn't press, just a quiet stretch, and then, So it's Kirishima, huh? Bakugo didn't answer, but the silence wasn't denial. Shinso took it as a confirmation. Yeah, he said. Figured. You've been off all week, he said. Not just your usual pissy self. Worse. You don't get like this unless you care. Bakugo didn't look at him, but something in his stance shifted, like he stopped bracing for impact. He exhaled through his nose, frustrated, not at Shinso, but at himself, at all of it. You're not as subtle as you think, Shinso added, not unkindly, then quieter. So what now? You gonna keep running from it, or are you gonna stop being a coward and deal with it? Bakugo didn't answer right away, but then he gave a small nod. Shinso didn't say anything for a second, just picked up his bag and slung it over one shoulder. Then, casually, like it wasn't anything, Kaminari texted, said Kirishima went to the park by the river apparently. He walked out without waiting for a response, leaving Bakugo alone behind the counter. No pressure, no lecture, just an open door. All right, friends, thank you so much for listening to these 2 chapters. They were a little bit longer, but that's all right. I hope that you come back and join us for the next piece. That's going to be the last one. It's going to be the last 3 chapters because they are fairly short. So if you enjoyed this, please give it a like. And if you would like to be notified when the next piece comes out, think about subscribing to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.